Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Let's have a look on the roster again. Koda, Larana, Shina, and Adri. Very, very known players. We talked about it. Ivan is missing. Maybe coming up on the killer very, very soon here. For now, facing the game over Oni here on the cold tower. -2 for Eternity. You see it. We talked about it in the housekeeping campfire chat. That was a wrong perk being brought into the trial here. So an unfortunate start, already losing a generator. So we need a top early game. Momo, you talked about it. The pressure is high. The mechanical skill needs to be on point, and now with a generator as penalty, basically, I think the pressure is even higher for Eternity here.
Oh yeah, 100%. This one generator is going to be huge, especially in an Oni set. I do want to point out the fact that Game Over is using a Brutal Strength rather than a Bamboozle. We haven't seen Bamboozle very typically on Onis, just through the Bloodlust changes, making it so much easier to go for the hits around the pallets and more of just trying to deal with the windows. So Game Over with an interesting choice to continue to bring this Brutal and already paying off here at this main building, making it in a much more unsafe tile. However, it is still a very, very good tile for anyone who is able to use it despite both those doors being gone. However, now we do see Ace taking the first chase of the game. China dropping that pallet early, not able to give a first hit to Game Over. Game Over with that Brutal Strength is instead just going to go for the Bloodlust, as we mentioned before. Bloodlust 1 already achieved thanks to this new update, and Game Over, I think, has already earned himself a hit without the use of Brutal Strength whatsoever. A very, very nice early hit here at 5 generators remaining, and the Colorblind Eruption is going to help us out here throughout the mid game to help us regress these generators and keep the pressure going. But this is a very nice start here for our killer.
Yeah, perfect start for Game Over. Getting the blood there in the mind game as well. Ace caught out here. Unfortunate down, not able to run it a little bit longer here. So that's the huge one, right? If you do not fully need to use anything like your power for a long time or anything like that and just get the down with 2 M1s, you're also close to the basement. Eternity really not with a good start. Unfortunate penalty there for the wrong perks, and now going into the base, but the wiggle off as well might even be a breakout or something like that being brought there with a teammate that is waiting upstairs in the cold tower. A little bit greedy there by Game Over, not able to secure this. And now, even though the power is around, you have to use it. So that's a good news by Eternity, getting rid of this resource from the killer. Also wasting time. We talked about how important it is to pick up on the generators here. So that's exactly what you were looking for, breaking this pallet here. There's an Adam now running towards the main side. He is able to reach this pallet, and he even has the confidence to stay and go for the hit here, and the stun of the killer taking the distance here. Really, really strong. Eternity now fighting back. Maybe it just took a little bit to get warmed up here, but now with the Minecraft action from our Oni here as well, really able to put the pressure down, getting progress into these generators, able to move around this pallet here as well, and not even pulling it yet. Insane play by Eternity. The head-on coming out on top. So as difficult as it looked in the early game, as amazing they are performing right now.
Wow, and 2 generators out of the way, and a down did come through, so the Corrupt Interventional is gone, and already our entire power is gone. A complete reset of the game for these survivors. 2 generators knocked out of the way, and we're now at 3 generators remaining with many pallets left to be used. Eternity with an insane recovery here, and now is going to be continuing the game. I think we do see a little bit of greed here on this pallet. Very, very nice greed, I must say, but Ace still able to get the stun, and now we are at 2 generators remaining. So many mechanical errors coming in here from Game Over. Unfortunately, it will result in the power being completely gone, and China with now another chance to redeem himself, able to last a little bit longer, avoiding that first hit, and now we are at 2 generators remaining. Honestly, just such an amazing job done here by Eternity. The generator pressure was just so well done. We see now the Colorblind Eruption being applied to this gen. We do still have a 3-gen setup on this side of the map, and if there's any killer that can come back from a situation like this, it is Oni. So the game is definitely not over here for Game Over, but we're going to need to see a first hit coming in very, very shortly if we want to see the momentum swinging back in the favor of the Oni. Oni, of course, all about momentum, and if the Oni can get his momentum back, then we might be able to see a 4K come through. But with these hits not hitting this Adam, I'm struggling to see how Game Over can get the pressure he needs.
Yeah, now we really need something on the killer side. You're right, and here Whiff coming out as well. Arana absolutely insane. A second one as well. Will it be the hat trick, the triple? At least he was able to bamboozle the killer there. Is that going to be another fake? No, it's going to be the vault, and that's going to be the injury. More blood collected, so that's going to be the run towards the shack here, far away from other generators. 4 of them completed already. Potential endgame coming out really soon. We see an eruption coming in. There it is! Generator number 5. Nothing on Team Theory here. After a penalty, after a restart, and after close to being hooked in the basement, they are pulling a 0-stage game. This is potentially one of the biggest turnarounds in the history of competitive Dead by Daylight. Exit gate open as well. Momo, this looks like a 4-man escape in worst case here.
You jinxed the caster's curse, but oh my god, this is still an insane performance. However, it is not over. We see some scratch marks, not anywhere near the gate, and I think Lon and McGregor might be taking another down here. This is now a 2-man slug across the board. If Game Over can get even one more or force some survivors out, this could end up in a 2K6 stage, which is nothing insane, but definitely not as bad of a result as it could be. So Game Over now taking the stun from Sheena, returning back towards the slugs. Is going to need to go for this pickup before we see him crawling out of the exit gate, and I'd imagine these survivors will try to pick up our friend Coda before he is able to get the pickup on him as well. So honestly, this might end up in a 1K3 stage. Game Over taking the hill hook here. Definitely a nicely positioned hook to make sure that they do not get this unhook. But there's still the question of how we can get another survivor as a 1K3 stage. Maybe not enough. Especially considering the strong killers that will come out for the side of Eternity. So now we're gonna be seeing Coda taking what might very well be the last chase of the game. We might even be able to see some hits coming through from these survivors, able to get Coda out the door. If this does happen, that would result in a 1-stage game. That's exactly what we're gonna be seeing. A bunch of hits come through, and the gate is right there. So if they're able to get this hit completely, there's Bloodlust. Still, if they're able to get this hit and get Coda out the door, we'll be seeing a 1-stage game. This is such a close scenario. Claudette with a hit take, and the vault comes through from Coda. That is going to be out. A 4-man out for Team Eternity. That is only 1 stage for Game Over. An excellent performance coming here from Team Eternity after such a rough start. I thought this would have been an insane performance from Game Over just from the beginning of the game, but Eternity with the recovery of a century.
Yeah, and the good news is it's only going to be 19 points for Eternity, not 21, right? Because of the penalty for the 2 perks there. And that's really important here for Theory. A penalty that really matters, because a 21-3 would mean that 1 stage, like 0 stages, would be the win condition. Now you have at least that 1 stage possibility and you would win. But 1 stage is almost a perfect game against an Oni, that is played by Eternity. Will be interesting if it's actually Ivan, if he's coming after not playing on the Survivor side here. But even if it's one of the other players, Eternity is around a long time. They picked up some Ronin players. Ronin is around a long time. So whoever is going to take the responsibility, it's not going to be a player that doesn't know what they are doing. And if you have an experienced killer paired with an insane win condition from trial number 1, that's even more dangerous. So whoever Theory is facing on the killer side for Eternity, it's going to be one hell of a difficult match coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is one of the really, really difficult moments for a team in competitive DBD. Theory needs to pull together, and they need to play perfectly here. On the Survivor side, they did it before in Blood Moon League. Remember them smashing through the lower brackets in Blood Moon League into the top 4. So maybe they can smash through set number 1 in All Hallows League at the opening weekend here. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for you after a short break.
Alrighty, everyone, welcome back in to the second matchup in the set. We're now going to be seeing Audrey playing the killer here for Team Eternity. This is definitely not something I am personally used to seeing. We're going to be seeing Audrey on the Oni. I don't think I've ever seen Audrey play killer before. So Yvonne being missing, maybe we're going to be seeing some other people playing killer for Eternity. Honestly, I am very interested to see how this turns out. On the opposite side, we have Counterate, Game Over, some very well-known players, and we have Nukes and Rumi, people who I've not seen previously, but I'm sure they're going to put up a good fight. They're going to need to put up a 1-stage performance here if they want to take this first set for their team. It's honestly not going to be easy whatsoever.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy one here. We need a perfect game, and especially the early game. It's so important. You want to spread across the map, get the pressure into the generators, and the corrupt intervention is a beautiful pick here by Adri to prevent exactly that. Also being gifted from the RNG god with a wonderful coal tower 3-gen on the top side that is on top of that corrupted here. So basically a dream setup for our killer, who's now going into the first chase here with counter raid moving towards the shack side, and Adri can go for this chase because the top side is corrupted. We are chasing in the active generators, so that could be punishing for Team Theory. Mind games coming out, Adri trying to make a sneaky move here. That's not going to be successful, and the window is now blocked, so the pallet has to be sacrificed, and now our survivor is a little bit zoned here and in a more difficult spot. The window not available anymore, so they do need to make a turn around the entire shack, trying to either run the killer until the window is open again or find the next pallet, and our survivor is taking the safe choice here, holding W away from the blocked window, but it's only a TNL, and that's going to be the mind game counter raid taking the hit here. Now our Adri able to collect some blood, potentially even able to go for the down here because the pallet at the shack is missing, and you have Bamboozle as a resource at them, holding W away, going for the next pallet here, but it's just a filler pallet next to a TNL, so not the strongest tile here as well, and if counter raid is going down really soon, Eternity will potentially celebrate.
Yeah, we already see Bloodlust 2 onto our Adam here, and only a TNL and a filler to be used. So honestly, ooh, counter raid with a very nice fake is going to be able to dodge that one hit, and another vault over happens. This is now Bloodlust 3. Audrey pretty much walking on thin ice here, is going to be able to get the down very shortly. It's just a matter of when another swing and a miss comes through counter raid. Just on a juke montage here, is be able to put it in his next YouTube video, making it back towards this next pallet. Is honestly just doing an amazing job dodging the hits here of Audrey. Audrey now with his power, however, is going to see 1-gen pop off in the distance, but we do have to recall that the win condition for Audrey is not very difficult here. However, we did lose our Bloodlust, so no more Bloodlust 3. I do think that counter raid is going to waste as much time as possible, but the head-on comes through from game over, and that is so much time bought. Audrey still wanting to take the chase though with counter raid. He does have his power, but instead is opting to go for the down onto our Adam. I'm confused at this decision, as we do have a fully healthy survivor that escaped right behind us, but I think that he wants to get the down here on this injured survivor before he pops his power, and almost another fake, but this time we will be getting a hit right through it. So the first down will come through here at 4 generators remaining, and we do have our power to match it right afterwards.
Yeah, if counter raid is in a difficult spot, apparently that's only a quick down in theory, because that was an impressive run holding Adri for an eternity in chase there. Very strong gameplay by Theory, and that allows them to get 2 generators done so far, but we do have a win condition that is around only 1 stage here. So as good as this chase was, the side and the pressure is still going for Eternity here. Theory has Nux close by waiting for the rescue, but Adri is going for the safe play here. He knows the win condition, he knows in which position they are, he does have the power ready to go to be really dangerous, and no survivor able to go for the rescue here for free. They do catch it though, as soon as Adri is a little bit distracted there. They're going down, and they are going to try confirm the next fresh hook here, but a nice use of the Z-wall here is able to keep Adri busy for a little bit longer. Theory actually shining on the survivor side, so good to watch, but that was a nice attack here by Adri getting the down. So it's a back and forth here, but that's now going to be the confirmed one for Eternity. That's exactly what they were looking for. So Theory shining on the survivor side. It's still going to be Eternity taking the set point here, but if Theory is keeping this up, they will move with such a confidence into the second set here, and they will stay on the survivor side, and therefore they're building up momentum right now. And if they keep this up, move into the second set with this performance we see right now, with this chase confidence, they have a good chance of making a 1-1 here.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, it's just very important, not only the set win, but the momentum of these survivors. And speaking of momentum, we have Audrey popping his power in the mid-map. Is going to find a whole lot of progress on this left side of main building generator, but is going to take the call of Brian, take his eruption proc, and go right back towards the hook, maybe anticipating a survivor rotating for this unhook. Is not going to find anyone, however, and maybe Audrey is sacrificing that gen off in the distance for absolutely no reason. Now he is on the right side of the map, making his way back towards the hook, still anticipating a survivor somewhere nearby, but unfortunately, it's just not finding anyone. We are about 70% of the way through our power, and if Audrey is not able to get it down here, it might result in a whole lot of gen pressure for the survivors of Team 3. But Audrey now taking this second stage and making his way to the right side of the map, but 2 generators pop off, and it is now suddenly the end game out of seemingly nowhere. So honestly, Theory, a very nice performance to come back, and the flick comes through from Audrey, but unfortunately not able to hit onto counter raid. Counter raid can make an entire juke montage at the amount of times he's avoided hits this game. Very excellent performance from that survivor. Now we see Audrey making his way back towards his hook, securing his final stage. Now this is most likely going to be a 1k4 stage game for the survivors of Team Theory. A very excellent performance, and despite the fact that they do not take this first set point, as we mentioned before, this is such a huge momentum for this team, and now they even go for the save, which I find personally pretty interesting. But considering the game is already over, you might as well. So we do get the first hit onto game over. The save comes through onto our I believe our ace, right? An ace, or sorry, our Adam, I believe it was. And now Ace is going to be making his way over to the gate. Does have the 10-second base kit BT, but just going into the corner yet. It's just going to be taking it down in this corner. And I think that is going to result in the 1k4 stage. I was mistaken. I do believe that this survivor was the one on the hook. So this will be the final hook onto him. So very excellent performance from Team Theory. What do you think, Dyer?
It's insane, yeah, and I love that they came back to go for the save, because that's the beautiful thing about a best of 3 with set points. If the score is already against you, you can try something wild, right? If it doesn't work, you can say, well, we performed well, let's take the confidence and the fun. And if it works, then you even add to your mindset and your confidence. And sometimes you picked up on it a little bit. Sometimes it doesn't matter that you lose. Sometimes it matters how you lose. And Theory lost with a very, very impressive performance here. They were really fighting. They showed a good match, especially on the survivor side. Their counter rate, potentially now the person that is taking responsibility for the team and remembering everyone, look, there is one great chase and look what we got out of it. Look how much this can change things. So let's stay confident here, and a confident survivor team is exactly what you need on the Shelter Woods, a sometimes challenging map when we are going against the Mastermind. Wesker comp, ladies and gentlemen, for the second time already in the opening weekend of All Hallows League, and we are going to show you that after a very short break. All right, same roster. Adri on the Mastermind, Nux, Romeo counter rate, and game over for Team Theory. We have just played a confident performance, and if they are able to keep this up here, they might shake Eternity around a little bit in the second set here. We talked about the Shelter Woods, a difficult map from time to time. You might not get as many resources as you would love to. Sometimes it's also not really rewarding you with a jungle gym. So let's see what our survivor Team Theory got here. We do see at least one filler pallet that's confirmed already next to the shack that can be connected into something strong, a 4-lane over here, and this can spawn as a jungle gym. So not the luckiest Shelter Woods, also not the worst one. We do see the chase going on here around this tile. There's a little bit of confusion going on the side of Adri. Is it going to be the locker? No, they bamboozled him here very well. Not able to find the first survivor, and also wasting a little bit of time. We talked about it. If Theory is coming out in set number 2, they need to play well, especially in the early game, and I think this is a pretty insane start.
Yeah, honestly, they're doing a really good job just hiding here and not really giving any pressure to Audrey early on. Half of Corrupt already gone off the trial, and halfway through of Corrupt without even a single find in the survivor is a very good job done here so far by the survivors of Team 3. Definitely the start you want to see. However, we do now find ourselves in the first chase of the game at the shack. Shack probably yet to be thrown, and imagine we're going to be seeing it dropped shortly, but no. A little bit of greed coming out here from our Claudette, and the vault comes through. No bamboozle to prevent her from being able to reach it right back. And now Audrey opting to just leave this chase entirely, now going to take the chase across the map from his active generators, and is now going to find Ace, I believe that is, in the next chase of the game. A swing comes through right through the pallet, and that's actually Adam taking the first hit here at this 4-lane pallet. Audrey with a very, very nice follow-up is going to hit Adam, and that will not down him. However, we will be getting the infection onto counter rate, and now the short slink comes through, not able to connect onto our Adam. So Adam getting very, very lucky here, not taking the down early on, but will be taking the infection, and he will shortly be significantly slower. However, now Audrey most likely will be finding himself the down very, very shortly, and now counter rate, the first down at 5 generators remaining. Corrupt intervention falling off the generators in the distance, but I'd imagine that these survivors have a good amount of progress for this first down.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. We should see a little bit of progress being done. 60% over here. One generator completed. So Theory doing their work, but at least this generator here is receiving a kick. Call of Brian coming in. Eruption being brought. And for the end game, you have a no way out. So setting up a little bit across the aggressive generator defense, and also for the end game, a few kicks here and there. Will be interesting now if Adri is opting to go back towards the Survivor, maybe confirming the second stage here, considering that the Survivor went down rather quickly, even though Theory had a good start, or if he's playing aggressively, the no way out. Lets me believe that we should see a little bit more of aggressive gameplay and collecting some hooks across the Survivor team, but for now staying really close. Wants to take the most out of the early down here. Counter rate is confirmed to the second stage. Will the Survivors go for a save or just accept it and go for the generators? It seems like they'll try to punish Adri here with the generators, and they do have a few more seconds before second stage, but it does look like Adri will get away with it. That should only be one more generator being done in the worst case for Adri here, so that's still keeping him on 2 generators remaining when this Survivor is able to be removed from the trial here. Good work by Eternity's Killer so far, now going towards the distance, trying to check on the generators a little bit, having the power ready as well to potentially close the distance, but he's not going too far. A nice mix now between guarding the generators and making sure that the Survivor on the hook is dying very, very soon here. So I wouldn't be surprised if Theory is very soon giving up counter rate and instead just focusing the generators here.
Yeah, it seems like what's happening. Audrey just content with staying around this hook, has so much pressure right now. We're at 3 generators remaining, and the Survivor is about to die. However, we now see Ace coming in for the unhook, and is going to be thrown into the tree. Audrey saying no to that, and now instead we'll be seeing Nia going for the unhook immediately. We'll be going for the tunnel out onto counter rate. If there is a decisive strike, this could buy so much more time for the survivors of Team Theory. But now we are at 2 generators remaining. The tunnel out will have to come through very, very shortly if we want to get a good amount of pressure for the team, but the vault comes through in the eruption across the way. However, for the people, it is used immediately from our Nia. That's going to buy a little bit more time for counter raid to make a break for it. We are going to be seeing a break come through from Audrey himself, and now we see a little bit of a window mind game. I thought we might have seen some sort of vault come through, but no. I think this will still be the down now onto counter raid. We see a little bit of wide stance coming in from Audrey, anticipating the head on, but this still could be the decisive strike at the end of the day. And no, there is no decisive strike. We see another gen popping off in the distance, and this is now the death onto counter raid. For a 3v1 with a very split up gen setup that we see remaining on the Shelter Woods is definitely a manageable situation for these survivors, and I anticipate that we're going to see some outs.
Yeah, unfortunate that the decisive strike was not available for counter right there. It would have been huge, but still a very strong chase. They're granting some time for the Survivor team, which are now taking up the pressure on the generators. Again, we do have a broken Nia from the For the People play, and there's also broken an injured Ace, who is too greedy on this pallet, gets caught by the power and is now down. This was not the play for Theory here, which just struggled free from the pressure, just set aside some time for the generators here, and then being greedy on the pallet was definitely not the right call here. Unfortunate for Nux, who was trying to be a little bit too confident there, now using the power beautifully here to cross the Shelter Woods and make sure that the survivors are not too quick on the generators here. The eruption has been triggered as well due to the very unexpected down. The Survivor has left the area here around the shack and needs to hold W away from the shack, trying to get as much distance as possible and wasting as much time as possible, as we do see the Anuk in the distance. Nice one here with the power and throwing game over right into this tree. So that's going to be the next hook stage as well. Theory they looked like they have struggled free from Edri's pressure. They looked like they are able to punish the killer with the nice regen setup they had, really split across the entire map. But unfortunately, we can see here what one unexpected down can change during the match, right? Edri being able to down Nux there on the filler pallet was really changing everything. No survivor is sitting on a generator right now as they were busy with the Anuk, and I think we even have time to potentially confirm game over into the second stage here, which is, however, already being saved. The power not quite enough here to reach the survivors. They are now moving over towards the next tile here as well, but we need it down quickly, otherwise Eternity is not Theory is not able to be killed here with another survivor trying to pull over the pallet here. Really nice work, and what a play by Edri, really showing off with the Mastermind now. That's a very nice one here.
And honestly, if I may say, Audrey with some very good Mastermind mechanics. I have honestly never seen mechanics on Mastermind this strong, so Audrey really showing off the power of the Mastermind. But we do see a gen popping off in the distance. This is not what I expected whatsoever. However, all two survivors that are not incapacitated right now are both injured and at least somewhat infected. So honestly, Audrey could pull through an amazing endgame here, especially with 4 stacks of No Way Out remaining. We do need a down here very shortly if we want to see the 4 stacks of No Way Out coming into use. And we see now a very nice double vault come through from game over, but it is not successful, and we will be taking it down here in the edge map. The No Way Out will be procced across the way. That is now a full minute where these survivors cannot work on generators, and this is now, I believe, the second hook onto game over. So this is honestly a pretty good result so far for Audrey, but I'm pretty sure he can get more stages than 7 so far. We have about a fourth of the way of No Way Out gone. We see Claudette spraying in the distance, but Ace still needs to get his spray off. He is 8% slower right now, and he will be insta-down if he is ever healed. So honestly, the spray is very essential, but a very nice swing comes through from Audrey, able to hit Claudette right through that pallet, completely ignoring it, sending a shockwave right through, and now Claudette taking the chase around this filler pallet is going to need to put up a good chase, or else we will have 2 survivors on the ground. But another double vault comes through from these survivors, and that will not be successful. However, the Unhook also comes through. Ace quick on his feet to get that Unhook before 2 hooks come through at the same time. So honestly, a nice recovery from Theory, and Audrey just taking more and more stages in this endgame, trying to capitalize as much as possible. I do imagine we're going to see some outs regardless, as we have 2 survivors still able to do things, but this could honestly end up in a 10 stage 11 stage game. So Audrey, an excellent performance so far.
The potential is there, have to agree on that, with a nice slug towards the end. This could even become a potential 4K if Theory is not splitting up and not playing this too carefully. Edgemap Andy is trying to use these 2 rocks here to waste as much time as possible. Honestly, this is a beautiful setup for an Edgemap tile, especially when it's rocks on the shelter woods, but that's going to be a very quick down here. We do see the Anuk in the distance. The survivors will try to move over towards the exit gate here, opening it as quick as possible. Resilience is helping there a little bit. Every single second can count because Adri is using the power to close up the distance. Is it going to be enough? No, it's not. Nia has to move away here. Is it game over for Team Theory? That's going to be the question here. Using the power to just vault the window very quickly here. That's going to be less distance for our Nia. Is she able to keep it up? No, the mind game works, faking to go around and then just swinging through, back to the power, back towards the hook, trying to go for the 4K here. Everything is possible. The slug may come out. Eternity might turn this into a 4K here. The swing coming out. Maybe it works once again. Unfortunately, not working out on the Nux here, but he is in a difficult position. He needs to play really perfectly here. Is able to do that for now. More seconds passing. The question is Nux able to go for the pickup there, or is he just going to escape from this trial here? Next swing coming out. We do see the pickup in the distance. 3 survivors back in the trial. Is it going to be the stun? It's going to happen. There's going to be more distance and more time here, faking it a little bit, but he has to break it eventually. If the survivor stays so confident, 2 survivors escaping from the trial, is there a chance to make it back towards the shack? The answer is no. Rami is going to go down and staying in the trial here, but considering that a 4K was possible, a 2-man escape is an amazing turn by Theory here.
Yeah, and I really want to point us to the end chase here. Claudette doing an amazing job at this filler palette. Honestly, if she had gone down any earlier, we might have seen the 4K come through for Audrey. So I really want to put us to the end of the game here. A very, very good job done here by Rumi to secure at least the 2 men out for his team. So very good job done. And we're now going to be seeing if the killer of Team Theory can pull through anything above a 10-stage game and drive us into the tiebreaker between these two teams. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back for you guys after a short break. Alrighty, everyone, welcome on in to what might be the final matchup between these two teams today. We're going to be seeing Game Over, once again, returning on the Mastermind, trying to see if he can put up a better performance on the killer side this time around, and is going to need to put up an 11-stage result here if he wants to drive us into the tiebreaker now. We're going to be seeing, I believe, the same exact roster as we saw in the Oni game, the first Oni game, and that roster did exceptionally well. So Game Over versus this roster, once again, is going to be a very interesting watch.
That is indeed the case. The Eternity roster really warming up. We talked a little bit about it after an unfortunate penalty. Really able to take over there. So let's see what they have for us on the Shelter Woods. We do see a very high intensity slow vault coming out from Ace to start off the chase here. And that is going to be Claudette also getting a little bit of an overview. We see the first spray being collected as well for the infection later on. And is this the first chase with the Survivor? No, but checking some lockers here. And while we are working on these tiles, not the worst idea maybe. If you do find an unexpected Eternity Survivor, that would change everything right from the get-go. Moving back towards the midsection, spotting a few scratch marks over here. The Survivor is rotating over towards the filler palette and then holding W away from it, it seems like. No, actually staying here, so that's a good first early finding, and getting the resources removed from the shelter was as quick as possible can be a good idea, because this map doesn't have that many resources for the Survivor team from time to time. Power coming out, is it going to be the first one? Very beautiful here. Game Over definitely coming in way stronger than the previous trial.
Yeah, honestly, doing a really good job starting things off here. And now a very nice mind game to finish things off here onto Audrey. So that will be the first down of the game here at 5 generators. Corrupt Intervention falling off the gens across the map. And this is exactly what we need to see here if we are Game Over. Of course, we do need a pretty high amount of stages if we want to take the win in this second set. So maybe a repeat of the first game where we saw the basement go, but no, not this time around. Game Over will be getting his first look in the basement, and this is exactly what we want to see here. A first look being in the basement will get us started off here and make it a much easier time, albeit still pretty hard, but in a much easier time reaching that really hard win condition. But we do have the collarbone eruption, we do have the no way out, we have a bunch of perks to help us out here on our journey to getting these high amount of stages, and Game Over is now looking around his gen setup. But I do have to point out the fact that there's nothing around this basement. There's maybe one generator, so not exactly something that he can protect at the same time as his generators. However, the Shack Belly goes down. Koda making a beeline for the unhook in the basement is going to be able to reach it quite easily, and we see the rush come through from Game Over, but unfortunately not connecting onto anyone, and that's going to mean a free out for both of them. Not even a single tag on anyone out of that basement, so that's very unfortunate. And another rush comes through, but it unfortunately not going to get targeted. The stun comes through from our Claudette, and Game Over is now in a dire situation. We see Claudette running over to this 4 lane, many more resources to use, and Game Over needs a down very shortly. We see the swing come through, but Claudette is already gone and extending the... Oh, never mind, I spoke... We see her running right into the hands of Game Over, and Game Over now with another down. However, there is still the possibility of... unfortunately, no decisive strike, but that will now be the second hook onto Audrey. We have 3 generators remaining, but we do see an attempt come through from our London McGregor. Not successful, however. That is now the second stage. The color brine applied to this generator, and honestly, a pretty decent mid game so far for Game Over.
Absolutely, yeah, decent mid-game here. One thing he has to do some homeworks is the basement, either reaching it or defending it. That had more potential there for sure. Game Over, however, is doing a good job here and is now already on the tail of the next Survivor here. So Eternity is getting really busy at the moment. They need to keep care of an unhook. They potentially need to reset this Survivor if he's not tunnel out, because you don't want to have a risky move onto that one. But it seems like Game Over is making sure that this Survivor is removed from the trial as quick as possible. You're forcing the 3v1. However, you need to make it a speed run. The TNL setup will help. Oh, what a wonderful mind game here. Exactly what you were looking for. That's also an eruption triggering in the distance because there was no chance that the survivor was expecting this and calling that out in time. So time being granted for game over. 3-1 scenario means that the generator pressure is dropping. And this might be really, really difficult. We see that 2 generators have 40%. Here we see a little bit of a dance being performed here by Nia. But Call of Brian is going to help. No Way Out is slowly going to another up a few stacks, especially with the next chase starting very soon here. So Game Over is setting himself up for a huge potential here. We need to highlight the word potential because that was what costed Theory set number 1. There was also a lot of potential. Unfortunately, they were not able to make themselves being rewarded and executed properly. So I can only hope that Game Over is able to do this time.
Unfortunately, another miss comes through from Game Over. This was such a crucial miss. He really needed that down that exact moment. That would have been the eruption proc right then and there. And now this is honestly such a dire situation. We see a double back come through from Game Over, anticipating the vault coming in from Adam, but Adam being very, very patient here, using his checkpoints efficiently. And now he's going to make it back into the edge map. But I do worry here for Game Over as the gens are most likely going to be finding themselves gone very, very shortly. So we're going to see the down very soon. Only one rush being used by Game Over here. This is not going to be enough for the down. And I think Game Over anticipating the last gen will pop the adrenaline onto our Adam. So now every single survivor will be completely healthy. 1 stack of No Way Out is all we have in this endgame. Game Over is going to need to pull through a miracle. He needs an additional 8 stages from this exact point to earn himself the win. So that is pretty much 3 more kills. He's going to need to 4K this game, realistically speaking, if he wants to get the win for his team. The No Way Out already procced, and now Game Over trying to go for more instead of going for the ace here. Nope, changing his mind, but ace is already gone. Sheena making distance towards the edge map, not wanting to give a free down next to the gate. So now Sheena making his way to another 4 lane, does have this pallet still up ready to be used, but Game Over cannot really commit to this. But I think at this point he has realized what is going to happen. The 2 out will come through very, very likely. So Game Over just taking this last chase, accepting what is going to happen. Very, very unfortunate, but this will be the down now onto our ace. The hook will come through very shortly, but I do think the door will be opened and Eternity will be taking their 2 out.
I have to say, we talked about it in the Oni game. Out of nowhere, Eternity is smashing the last generators and we are an endgame. Even though we saw 40% of progress on the generators, it's still impressive how they went into endgame that quickly, because Game Over had a good mid-game and was keeping them quite busy. So, insane work from Team Eternity. That triggered an eruption as well. So, this is the evidence of perfect team organization, perfect management of the resources, perfect callouts, perfect communication, and not wasting a single second when it comes to the question how quick and how efficient will we be on the generators here. Really, really strong work by Team Eternity, finishing this set with a 34-28 and going to take the 2-0 here to move forward into round 2 of the higher bracket. Theory, we to wait for you in the lower bracket, because what you showed today was really, really interesting. And they are going to play against Iconic, another team that had a ton of potential as well. So Iconic in Theory is going to be an absolute incredible match. Talking about the matches, the next one on the line is Eviscerate and Karma.